have to look far.
Right.
I lost my train of thought. But thank you. So, again, it's...
Something about Switzerland?
What's that?
You were talking about Switzerland.
Switzerland, yes, thank you. In Switzerland, and this comes from Trevor Noah's show.
Yes.
In Switzerland, they have over 8 million firearms. They open carry. They have a gun festival where they carry their guns and they shoot them. The former president of Switzerland was in attendance. No security around him, no body armor or anything. Why is that? Because they're trained properly on how to care for these firearms, value their firearms, and value life. We're not perfect. We're far from it. But if we can get 1% better, 1% at a time, over time, we're a whole lot better. And that's all we're trying to do, get 1% better. If we can save one life, this is worth it.
Yes.
Yes.
All right? I hate that I constantly see these mass shootings, seeing 9 and 10-year-olds shot and killed in school. All right? I'm not an emotional person, but I cannot stand it. I break down in tears every time. I hate it. Everybody should hate it. I don't hate guns. I respect them. Common sense dictates that we should be responsible. But obviously, common sense is not common enough. And if you want to get into politics, and this goes to any politician out there, if you want to get into politics because you want to line your pockets, you're in the wrong business. 84% of the country wants common sense gun legislation.
Yes.
But 50% of the Senate refuses. How is that representative of us? Exactly, it's not. What we want is true representation. All right? We've got a diverse crowd here. I'm beyond ecstatic to see it, and I welcome anybody to speak about their experiences, their thoughts. Again, please keep it civil. All right? And from the bottom of my heart, I thank all of you for being here. Seeing you here makes it worth it. This is a pain to plan this, and I get anxious about it, but it means so much. I hate that we have to do this. But that last part, we have to. Because if we don't, what matters? All right?
Thank you for organizing.
Thank you. All right. I will step off. Anybody wants to speak?
May I speak for
Absolutely.
Can I grab the floor?
Thank you.
Yeah, go.
So my name's Jim Granfield. I live in Virginia Beach. Live right down in the Courthouse Estates. I'm a public defender by day. I actually work out in Suffolk. So if you don't know what that is, can't afford a lawyer, want to be appointed. That's me. I run the pub, and so I've represented countless people, young, most of them young men, on all kinds of firearms offenses, and it tears me up. But and this lady in the pink and the cool hat, no, I agree with you. Just ban the damn AR-15.
Right.
There is no reason for a civilian to have one. And what makes I got two thoughts came into my head. I'm rambling on. I talk in public for a living, and I also ad-lib a lot. I was in my office as a kid, and I say, never let preparation get in the way of spontaneity. So that's kind of my motto. My dad, my 92-year-old dad, who lives over in Southgate, is still spry and active, and honest to God, he's a reasonable Republican. I really use him as kind of a bellwether of somebody who's got some 92 years of living, will give you some common sense. My dad was a medic in Korea. He was drafted in 1950, and he was there in 1950 to 51, right in the freaking smack middle of the fighting. And while, if you ask him, what he most treated was frostbite. But he saw his share of gunshot wounds, and he knows what weapons of war will do to a person. And as he says, with the perspective of a 92-year-old, what in the hell has happened to our country? And that's not a man who cusses. And I'm going to respectfully differ with you a little bit about when we talk about politicians, they've been bought and paid for. That's part of it. But somebody else made reference to the fact there are way too many people who just love guns as a hobby. Oh, they're cool. You can go on YouTube and everyone has their videos of got my new AR-15 and they're
make love to them.
When I was 7 years old, my friend Mike Clifford up the street, he had all the toy guns and we played war and all that. But I was 7. I got over it. But I'm telling you, you see these 28-year-old guys and you know the look. Right? They got the utility pants with the 19 pockets in the vest, right? And they got to have cool Oakley sunglasses. And they go out in a field and they like to shoot their AR-15. I don't care. I don't care about their hobby. If I owned a Corvette, and trust me, I don't. I'm a cheap car guy, right? But if my hobby was, I like to drive my Corvette really fast. Guess what? I can't, right? Because there's laws against it. We need to tell our politicians that it's not just, oh, you've been bought and paid for. There's lots of people who, oh, I love my guns and I'm going to protect my house. Really? Is the zombie apocalypse coming? That you need an AR-15 to protect your house? So God bless the high school students. And when you say you voted one, you better vote.
Oh, I will.
Because if you don't vote, I will come track you down and make sure. So
I'm voting as soon as I can.
and on that line. Last thought. And again, we're here to talk about sensible gun measures, but you can't do that without talking about politics. So our congressperson, right, Elaine Luria, I think she's great. I mean, she just. I am prior Navy. I did not stay for a career. She was probably 10 times the naval officer I ever dreamed of being. And I know it's primary season, which is why we're seeing so many of the ads, because my thought was, and again, we redistricted a little bit, because Luria now extends out into Suffolk. There are 8 gazillion Kiggins ads, right? They're on TV. There's a whole lot of posters around. I'm assuming she might be the nominee. But she's got the same spiel, and she was a helicopter pilot, now she's a nurse practitioner, but then listen to the end of her ad. We got to get out there and make sure Luria holds on to her seat.
Yes.
And send her she's got the same stuff on paper, retired Navy, command of the ship. She's got to get out there. God bless her, because she's got some common sense. So thank you for me taking the field.
Since this is open mic, I'll grab the open mic. My name is Nathan Golden. I'm a physician and surgeon here in Virginia Beach. I have seen firsthand the results of gun violence. And this is going to sound like cognitive dissonance, because I got this nice aspirational poster from this nice lady over here. Hopefully we'll all be motivated to get involved politically and try and change the system. But I would only pose this one thought. This is aspirational. It's not realistic. It's not going to happen. I hate to say it. And I think it's aspirational. And absolutely, that is the aspiration. More likely, I would invite everybody to look and Google what the sensible gun laws are in a country like Japan. This is where you have to be certified. Every year you have to make sure you know how to store and how to use and how to protect your guns. We're not getting rid of guns. As aspirational a theme as that it could possibly be, it's not going to happen in my lifetime or probably anyone's here. So meanwhile, let's make it safe and make sure people know how to use guns properly and store them. And I think that would have a tremendous impact on all the horrific violence we've all seen. That's all I got.
Can I say one quick thing I forgot to say? And I said I represent a gazillion young. It makes no sense to me. I've represented 19-year-olds for possession of tobacco under age 21. And I'm thinking, all right, he got a summons for that, and a 19-year-old can walk in and buy a long gun? Tell me the logic of that.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. As a retired Navy vet, until you saw someone shot, you don't know the impacts of a weapon of war. We the people. That's in the Constitution. We the people. Power never concedes. If you're willing to allow a concession with the gun ban, we've got an issue. There is no concession. We the people. So the first question you have to ask every politician, where do you stand on this issue? Thumbs up, thumbs down. You do or you don't. My child's alive, my child's dead. That's where you have to stand. You have to make an impact. Do not be disillusioned by disinformation. Do not be disillusioned by gas price. Do not be disillusioned by all the things that are affecting you. If this is your issue, ask your politician, where do you stand? You get my vote or you don't. It is we the people. You don't take power back. They're not going to give it to you. You got to take it back. Take it back at the ballot box. Take it back out here. Take it back in your church. Take it back in your community. But take your power back. I rest on that.
We all came here for a reason today. And that reason can be multifaceted. However, 4 years ago, the kids, the children from Parkland in Florida organized together to create March for Our Lives. We're here again. This sign was from 4 years ago. That sign my son created 4 years ago when he was 5 years away from voting. We happened to keep it in the back of our closet because it was his first march. He felt so compelled. I asked him. I didn't make him go. I asked him, and he felt powerless because he could yet vote. And he said, I'm going to march. And it was cold that day. I'm going to march, and I'm making a sign because I want them to know that in 5 years I can vote. We're here 4 years later, and it's 1 year before he can vote. And you heard him, he's gonna vote. He gets to vote however he wants to vote. But he's an informed citizen now. And he also takes action, and that's what each of us are here to do, is take action, however in our way we choose to take action. Part of that is taking small steps and large steps, and we're here today to take those steps. If you do not feel that the vote will be enough, you can still take action. If you feel that a march or protest is not enough, you can still take action. You can go to the March for Our Lives website. There are a menu of items to take action. You can write congresspeople, you can write senators, they don't even have to be your own. You can make phone calls. Elaine Luria is the congresswoman for this area. You can call her. If you feel that she is going to vote in the way that you want, you can call and pressure others. You can write to others. You can email others. You can send social media to others. You can make small steps. You can go to your school boards. You can go to your county or city administrators. You can talk to the administrators at schools. Each of you is a taxpayer. You can make small actions and big actions. It's not just about the vote. It's not just about the march. It's not just about being here today. Multiple actions are needed. Yes, we may not go back to the assault rifle ban from 1994, which during that time, 2/3 of gun-related violence with AR-14s and other assault rifles was reduced by 2/3%. 2/3%. It dropped 2/3%. I mean, amount, percent, thingy, math. Who's the math teacher? All right, so by 2/3. There you go. Thank you. Yeah. And so, if it dropped by 2/3, and we can get that passed, it will drop again. We didn't say at that time in 1994, for those of you that were around in 1994, it was not said you must give back all your guns. The Second Amendment was still there in 1994. The Second Amendment was still there when the assault rifle ban expired. The Second Amendment is still there. We have smaller measures that are trying to go through Congress and Senate. Support those. Yes, maybe it's not enough right now, but it's something now, and moving forward, there can be more. So closing the loops for firearm safety, closing the loops for background check, having the ability to do background checks and waiting periods, having some of the common sense laws that people are talking about. Take each of those actions. It's not about one action. It's not about we didn't ban guns completely. It's not about we didn't lock the cars. It's about all those things together. So think about how you can take back each of those steps. That is so important because it's not just us who might own a gun. It's not just those who have a gun. It's not just those who can vote. It's not just those who do vote. It's about the kids. It's about the kids that aren't even here yet. It's about the grandkids. It's about our neighbors. It's about the kids showing up at the emergency rooms. It's about the people showing up at the emergency rooms. It's about what happens next door and are you okay? Every day, worrying about what it's going to be like if you go down to the grocery store like they did in Buffalo, or what it's like if you send your child to school and you find out that there's a lockdown and you're not sure why. And if you haven't felt that, it makes you want to run to the school like those parents did in Uvalde. Yes. And so every step, every action, take the action, take the time. You were here today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for organizing. You were here today. You are here today. Take each step. Take multiple steps. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Doria Martingale. I've been a public school student from Virginia Beach. I went Lincoln, Plaza, Princess Anne. I graduated from University of Virginia and I'm getting my master's degree at LSU. I've grown up in the era where lockdowns are as common as fire drills. And I'm currently getting my master's degree in a city that has one of the highest violent crime rates. And I was more scared in school. I don't walk down the streets of Baton Rouge scared or nervous or planning what to do, but I've done that. I've been in middle school and heard that we're about to go in lockdown, walking to the bathroom and thinking, what if I get trapped in a stall? And I consider myself lucky to have gotten out of school and not dealt with that. And to have not been shot, to have not had my friend shot, to not have had an active shooter in my school, I consider myself lucky. And I think that that is a horrifying idea that I've grown up in one of the best public school systems in the country, in Virginia, and I was scared. I remember being at Plaza Middle School and having multiple lockdowns. I have been in every classroom. I started middle school when I was 10, and I have been in every classroom considering which desks are the best to duck under. How many people could fit in the closet in the corner? How easy would it be for someone to break down that door, to bust down the glass? How many accesses do they have to the inside of this school? And at Princess Anne, there's a million ways to get into the school that was built in the 50s. And the The answer isn't doors. The answer isn't to arm teachers. It isn't, I understand the shielding. It's not to be shielded. The answer is to fix these common sense gun laws. And the thing is that so many people don't understand what that is. But if you have those conversations, I know it's the most frustrating thing, but I have grown up with friends all over the spectrum. I have had best friends who own guns my age, whose parents own guns, and I start the dialogue and they don't realize that background checks are not required. They don't realize that you can be on the no-fly list, be suspected of being a domestic terrorist, and still legally purchase a gun in the United States. We're not talking about taking away guns. We're not talking about banning pistols. We're talking about somebody who is on a no-fly list not being able to legally purchase a gun. And I'm tired of the argument of, well, it's not, people are still gonna find a way to get a gun, because I know these other countries that have done this are not perfect replicas of the United States. There is no perfect replica of our country, but they've done it. We had the assault ban. All these other countries have acted and responded, and maybe they're smaller, maybe they're less diverse, maybe they're way different, but we haven't even tried, because again, the representation is not accurate to us. We know this. We know our Congress is built in a way where South Dakota has as much representation as California, as New York, as Virginia, as Texas. But I think that if we continue to meet like this, we continue to have these dialogues, we continue to hear from students like in Parkland, or students who have been lucky like me, who haven't been around it, but who have been terrified walking through halls, who have learned that if somebody, a janitor or someone says, open up, the drill's over, or they say that on the speaker, you don't, because they have to physically lock the door, because maybe there's a gun to the head of the person with the speaker. The fact that I was thinking about that as a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, all through 17 when I graduated high school is insane. So I want to thank all of the teachers here, first of all, because that is the most stressful job ever. Thank you. And all the parents here, because I am far from having children, but I cannot imagine sending my kids to school right now. And thank you everybody who is here, because I think if we keep pushing this dialogue, keep realizing that people who we think maybe are different than us, politically, whatever it is, actually believe, because depending on the statistic you look at, 89 to 90% of people in the United States want background checks. Yes. 90%. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lillian. I'm a 15-year-old student and I attend Princeton High School, and ever since elementary school, I've been scared to go to school. I've been scared I wasn't going to go home and see my mom. And I've had kids in elementary school say they're going to take their parents' gun and come into school and shoot it up. And they said they would shoot me, and it scares the heck out of me. And I thought there was nothing I can do. And sometimes it still feels like there's nothing I can do, but I'm just glad to see a lot of people who are wanting to do something. And I cannot wait for the day that my vote can count so I can do something too.
Hi, my name is Rose Doucette. I'm 15 years old and I graduate in 2 years. I can vote in 3 years. Since I think first grade, I remember having to do lockdown drills at school. I honestly remember more lockdown drills than I do fire drills. And I remember the first one I ever did because I was 6, and I think it was just around the time Sandy Hook happened. And I was really scared because it was the first one I'd ever done, and we had to hide in the corner. And my teacher didn't explain it very well, I don't think, because I thought there was an actual person with a gun in the school. It's kind of gotten more than that from there. I've been doing them all through elementary school. I moved to Virginia Beach in 3rd grade. We kept doing them here. We had 2 real lockdowns when I was in elementary school. I don't remember why. And then middle school happened, and we kept doing them. I went to Princess Anne Middle School. It's an older building. It's really easy to get into. There's a lot of doors, and they didn't really enforce the locking them very well. in I think either 7th or 8th grade, I was on the bus passing the municipal center to go to my friend's birthday party when someone entered and committed a mass shooting. I got to my friend's house. I heard about it from someone I knew, and I got really scared because I worried my uncle or dad might have been in the building. My dad is a journalist. My uncle is a farmer who works within government area sometimes. And I didn't have answers to whether or not they were okay for 2 hours. It was really scary, and I don't want to do anything like that again. It got worse considerably just through the years. I'm in a sophomore in high school now, and there's armed police officers in the school building, and I still don't feel safe. I got my first job this year. I'm a lifeguard at the Ocean Breeze Water Park, and I go to work and to school every day thinking that I might not come home. There's armed police officers in full tactical gear at my job at a water park. There's armed police officers in full tactical gear at my school. And I spend all of my time in the school building. I'm in the arts department. I can be there for like 10 hours a day, and I don't feel safe there, ever. I go to school every single day thinking I might not come home. I go to work at a water park, which is supposed to be a fun place, thinking that I might not come home. When I got trained for my job, first aid is a big part of that. There is a 20-page section in our work manual about how to respond to a mass shooting and treat gunshot wounds. I learned how to do that at 15 years old. I know how to treat a gunshot wound from an assault rifle. I am 15 years old. I don't know what we need to do because I'm 15. I'm definitely don't have enough life experience for a lot of things yet. I can't vote. I can't buy alcohol or drive yet. But I know how to treat a gunshot wound from an assault rifle. And I don't know what you guys want to do with that information. I don't know what anyone wants to do with that information. There's not a whole lot I can do besides be here and say the stuff that I know and hope someone listens to me. And that's all I have to say.
My name is Tim Ryan. I'm a retired Navy Master Chief. Served 22 years in the Navy. There's a place for guns in this world. The military is the place. Bona fide police, some security, also need to have guns. The assault weapons that are in this country today do not belong in the hand of any civilians, in my opinion. They belong in the hands of the military and the police. And the ban that was, somebody was talking about the ban early from 1994, it worked. Other countries have a similar ban, and it worked. So my message is, there's 300 million guns in this country. They're not going to go away. Ammunition can be reduced and controlled. There's agencies that could easily do that and limit that. The assault weapon can certainly be controlled and limited to the military, bona fide police, and bona fide security activities. And that's it. I'm a believer in the Second Amendment. It's important. I don't think the Second Amendment ever intended that an assault weapon could obliterate everybody in this crowd just by doing that.
A well-regulated militia.
The well-regulated militia right now is the National Guard. The National Guard could be used for a lot of different purposes. I grew up in a small town on Long Island in New York. Many small towns when I grew up in the 40s and 50s had an armory in the town. Remember that? Yep. And in the armory was any long guns. Most of the long guns people had any ammunition. And if you needed to use it, you go down to the armory, you check it out, ammunition, and you go use your long gun. Not a bad idea to return to that kind of a concept. Something to think about. I'm glad you're here. Our city has 400,000 people. I'm glad we're here. We're not enough.
Hello, I was not planning on speaking. Just was gonna observe. This is my first time coming out to march for something. I'm 34 years old. I just Googled when was the Columbine High School shooting. It was 2 days before my 11th birthday in 1999. I remember those 3 months before my 11th birthday because I started telling people I was 11 about 8 months before I turned 11. I was like, life is gonna be great. I for the people that are younger, did not ever think about guns and gun violence, and I grew up in a very conservative state, which is Oklahoma. Before that day and then after that day, I've never been able to stop thinking about gun violence since the age of 11. I have watched it wreak havoc on our locality, all around the country. I am a voter, and I still feel helpless sometimes. I go to therapy because I feel so helpless. I enjoy art, so this is one of the best ways I can express it. I'm shaking because I'm tired of complacency. I don't understand why we have people who are voted in who quite literally take money to keep our lives at risk. I don't know when it will change or if it will ever change, but our country is reeked with gun violence, and it is not this way worldwide. I hope that there is a day when kids can be born and go to school and not have to think about a gun entering their school. To see another elementary school shooting happen and just know that those kids, like, they're never gonna, I've never had a friend be shot, and I live with PTSD from the constant shootings. Like, quite literally, it could be worse for me, but we can't write it off as it could be worse anymore. Vote for Beto, by the way, if you know anyone that lives in Texas. Look up the common sense gun laws like they're saying. I read a statistic that 40% or less of the guns entering the market are coming from cars that aren't locked, where people are storing their guns improperly. So when they say gun safety storage, that's what they mean. It's cutting it off at the source. Thank you so much for letting me speak. Please spread the word about common sense laws.
All right, thank you.
I certainly hadn't expected to do this. My name is Elizabeth. I'm a grandma, as you can tell. I'm a mom. I'm currently a tutor in an elementary school for struggling readers, first graders. I'm also a retired high school teacher. Why I mention that, I retired from Lansdowne High School. I don't know how many of you realize we were that close to a mass incident. It touched me deeply because this young man's plan was to shoot everyone as they came in the building. And I was the first in the building every day. So, every single thing that's been said, I agree with. We just need reasonable laws. I beg of you, pressure the Senate. People in the Senate are holding us hostage. Please write to the Senate. We know where our senators stand. We know where a lot of other senators stand. We need to put pressure on the Senate, and I thank you.
I just want to say a quick thing.
Absolutely.
I think the knee-jerk reaction when people see people like this is they're coming to take our guns, they don't want, and a lot of people aren't saying nobody should have a gun. A lot of us here have guns. A lot of people hunt, a lot of people have guns at home. And the Second Amendment says, well, regulate. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about preserving the Second Amendment as it was meant to be. In 1776, they didn't have an AR-15 or whatever the heck.
They didn't have
couldn't-
bullets.
You weren't allowed, when they said have arms, they didn't mean citizens could have cannons in their front yards. And I think it's a common sense issue, and it's not about breaking down the Constitution. It's about using common sense to support the Constitution that is supposed to protect all of us, especially the least of us. We have some extra cardboard, paperboard, and markers if anyone else wants to make a sign.
Thank you.
I don't want to overstay my welcome because this is like my third time speaking.
You're a
it's my-
regular.
my good-
Thank you.
Thank you. My good friend in pink. She and I seem to be on the same page about just outlawing selling new AR-15s. I want to tell me again your first name. Neil. Neil said something about generalization. Okay, so here comes a sweeping generalization, but see if there's a kernel of truth in it. A lot of the school mass shootings, right? What's the profile? It's a young man who's disaffected and isolated and all right. The kids at Columbine walking around with trench coats when it's 90, and no one thought that was a little odd. So we talk about mental health, right? And it's a piece of the problem. We totally get that. But here's the reality of my world. We're not going to stop all gun violence. Where I practice in Suffolk, and again, I said about, lots of gun violence. My clients can go within half a mile of the courthouse in Suffolk. They can buy a illegal pistol on the street 10 times a week and twice on Sundays. That's not going to stop because the sheer number of guns are out there. But that nerdy, lonely, I'm going to go shoot up the school, it's a hell of a lot harder to walk through the hood. But that AR-15, that doesn't happen. They're buying them in gun stores. Right. They're walking in and legally buying it. Or Nicholas Cruz with the folks that took him in, we'll just keep the gun right here over in the cabinet. They're either getting it at home or they're buying it legally. Not going to stop the 9mm being sold on the street. That's going to happen because the sheer volume. But banning the sale of them is not taking them out of anybody's home. Where's the good surgeons? I differ with the doc. We did it once before in '94, right? There were same-sex marriage folks that, that 20 years ago, if they just said, it'll never happen. You know what? It happened. So take little steps. So that's one of them, like what she said.
Just to put a finer point on that, that probably was me. The kid who was 10 years old when Columbine happened and, was quiet and nerdy and didn't have any friends, separated from everyone else, seemed to be harboring something of a chip on their shoulder. Mental health doesn't make people murderers. Being ostracized doesn't make everybody want to kill everybody else. It's just, there's an incongruency here. It's not that people who don't fit are dangerous. It's that something about the thing in which we're supposed to fit into has problems. The fact that the culture that we live in just gives guns to anybody who wants them, that more and more, we have more guns than people in this country. And they're getting concentrated in the hands of fewer and fewer people who just are preparing, it seems like, to just go out in an all-out war against the rest of society.
Yes, that's true.
So it's strange that our culture is building those people, and not that the culture is not getting rid of those people. What am I saying? I'm
doing great.
I'm sorry.
You got this.
It's an important issue.
Yeah, it's mental health problems.
Your sign says it all.
Thank you.
That is a very, very powerful sign.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well done.
If I could, just because I'm seeing this sign, if I could get you to come up, just so everybody here can see the sign. You don't have to speak, just everybody, take a look at this sign. All right? These numbers should scare you. They absolutely horrify me. And that's last year, correct?
2021.
2021. 2022, the numbers, right now, I looked it up before I came here, 19,339 deaths due to firearms. We're going to exceed that number probably before the end of the month. Definitely before the end of summer. All right?
Hello everyone, my name is Catherine Cobb. I grew up in Suffolk. I want to give the last young man a hug virtually. You did a beautiful job. In 1984, my mother was murdered in our house with a handgun. I was so afraid and of course grief-stricken after that I was terrified to go back in our house. Right after Parkland, as a teacher, we practiced shelter-in-place drills. And I remember having that same fear for my kids. I asked to teach in a classroom that had a lock on the inside so that every time somebody went to the bathroom, they propped the door open, and when they came back in, they would shut the door and make sure it was locked. Really, nobody should have to live that way. I've heard so much fear from the young people in particular about the experiences that you've had. My own feeling is what needs to be done is that we need to thank our legislators around the country who have supported common sense gun laws and pressure those lawmakers across the country, make their lives hell until they understand that it's not just a state issue, but it's a national issue. So I speak to you with gratitude and compassion about this subject, and thank you for putting it together.
My daughter was murdered with a handgun right here in Virginia Beach in her own home. And it's an ongoing investigation, but the fact of the matter is, when she was shot, she was dead. Had 911 been called immediately, it would have done no good. The power of that weapon took her life instantly. I don't know who did it. I don't know where they got the gun, but there are a lot of ways around these regulations. If, as this gentleman said in Suffolk, you can go out and buy a gun on the streets of Suffolk and bypass all these gun stores, person to person, not regulated, no background checks, how safe are we? My daughter was not involved in any criminal activity. She was in her own home. No robbery, no disturbance. She was murdered in cold blood with a gun. I don't know what the answer is, but this must stop.
She was actually part of a targeted gun violence in school. She was shot at 7:56 a.m. I was at a tech center program, so I was about 20 minutes down the road, but it happened in, a small town, like no one knows school in the middle of nowhere, Cornfields, Maryland, so it can happen anywhere. And she unfortunately was the only, fortunately, but also unfortunately, the only student that did pass. There was a kid who actually lost a national D1 scholarship for basketball, and there were a few others that were injured, but thankfully they were able to survive. And I don't know, I just kind of wanted to mention her. I don't know, she didn't, die in vain. And I just also wanted to ask if we could have a moment of silence for everyone. there's been like a lot of clapping and a lot of praise, but I feel like it's necessary to have silence to mourn those who have been lost wrongfully. She died at 15. She was really smart. She was AP honors student. That's probably going to be captain of the swim team. She was really fast. A lot faster. So,
lead us.
Okay, so if we could all please, actually, can we face the flags and have a moment of silence for everyone across the country? Thank you, guys.
I know some additional people have shown up since I spoke, and sorry to those who are here before who hear me again. Just want to say again, there are things that can be done. I know a lot of us often feel like we are powerless. You came here today for a reason. You showed up for a reason. You're sitting under the sun for a reason. You're listening to all these wonderful, wonderful people for a reason. You can take steps. We talked about voting. Even if you can't vote yet, even if you're under 18, you can still call, write, email, social media your congresspeople and senators, because you will be voting. You can still go to a school board meeting because you are in school, and also you will be voting. You can go to a county or city meeting because you are and will be voting. The young lady who says, I'm trying to find her, sorry. Young lady who says she's working. Thank you for being a lifeguard. You are now a taxpayer, congratulations. As a taxpayer, your tax money goes to school safety, goes to law enforcement safety, goes to training, background checks, all those things that our taxpayers' money goes towards. So if you're a young person and you're under 18 to vote, you can still contact and put leverage and say, I am a taxpayer, or my parents are taxpayers, and I will be one day. You can, whatever your concern is, background checks, common sense gun laws, waiting periods, AR-15, any assault rifle, locking up cars that have guns, common sense gun ownership, whatever the issue is, please make action. It can be small, it can be an email again, it could be a phone call. And my good friend in Texas, she lives outside of Dallas, she's been trying to call her congressperson daily. The mailbox is full, imagine that. That's okay. She's taken to social media, she's taken to emails. She's gonna show up to their district office because she feels passionate about what she feels passionate about. Whatever it is that brought your heart here today, whether you're young or older, whether you're a voter, taxpayer, or soon to be, you can take action. And if you're not sure, you can go to this nice gentleman's political action committee site. You can go to March for Our Lives. You can go to Sensible Gun Ownership. There's a lot of great websites out there. And if you're not sure, ask a friend, call your local legislature, also state and, I forgot, state, right? State legislature. Just don't even stop with Congress. State legislatures. I said school board, I said district, your city and county supervisors and managers of the city and managers of your county. I skipped right over and went to Congress. State legislatures. Contact them because they make the laws for Virginia. They make the laws here. So I know it's really easy to feel powerless, especially when we hear about the latest shooting. Breaks my heart regularly. But take that energy, please. You came here today. Please Please take that next step.
Google it.
Hi, I'm Peggy.
Hi, Peggy.
Mother, grandmother, sister-in-law of a state trooper who was shot and killed on the job in 1979. In his job and his position, it's understandable that that's a risk. It should not be a risk for my grandsons when they go to school. I have a son and his wife in Germany. They'll be coming back in 2.5 years, and they are upset. What are they bringing their girls back to? We need to make some changes. What I mainly wanted to say was, while you're pressuring, calling, emailing, writing letters to the editor, doing whatever you can do with your local, state, and federal representatives about gun control, common sense gun control. Also, please push for support for mental health care. I don't understand in Texas where they cut the funds. They cut funds for it, and yet that's coming out as the main reason that the thing that we need to work on.
It's called gaslighting.
That's gaslighting? Okay, I'm not for gaslighting. But please don't forget when you talk to your people, support common sense gun regulation, but also please support, push for good financial support for mental health care. You can do it. I was part of a group that worked for years to push, to prod, to beg, to nag, to scold, to get Medicare expanded in the state of Virginia. It happened. There are 400,000 people in this state who have coverage that they wouldn't have had if we had given up. So that's it. Thank you.
Are we ready to march? I don't know, it was a march for our lives.